Welcome to Hey, We're Talking. I'm Scott. With me, my good friend Derek. Say hi, Derek.
Hi.
And then
Hi, Derek.
we've got Mr. Bob over here. He's got
Hey,
a
what's up,
beer.
everyone? I
Bob,
do.
I'm sorry, I didn't give you a chance to say hi. Why don't you go ahead and say hi?
Hi.
Awesome. So, Derek, we got a beer over here with Mr. Bob. You're drinking what today?
Oh, I've got a glass of this,
That's a big old glass of scotch.
well, there's actually water in it,
Oh,
but
okay.
it is Lafroig's quarter cask, and it comes in at a big old 48%. So
Nice.
I added a lot of water to it.
Just to kind of cut it a little, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, stretch it out. It doesn't.
I've got
make
a
it weak.
cup of coffee today.
That's a pretty big cup, too.
Well, back here it's not as big. When you put it up here, it's huge. When you
Yeah,
pull it back here, it's not as big. But anyway, coffee. This is. I've got a roaster down here in South Carolina. It's like Charleston Roasting Company or something like that. I don't live by Charleston, but it's at the Costco. They sell it in 2-pound bags, and it's only for Costco. So you got that special kind of thing going on there. Nothing? You don't think it's not fun at all that I'm making fun of it?
Is that your South Carolina accent?
I
don't know the like the place.
It sounds more like
South
Chicago.
Carolina is like this big on the map.
I knew he was going to say something out of Chicago or something like that, but I know I've probably only known two people in my entire life from Chicago that talk like that, and I live in the Chicago area, so.
Oh, wow. He's so cool. He lives in the Chicagoland area.
That's not really bragging rights.
So, all right, listen, today what we wanted to do, we're going to just throw a couple of ideas out there that we're going to probably cover during this show. As many people may remember, on Tuesday of this week, we had an election here in the United States of America, and it was kind of divisive. There's a lot of people who had opinions about the two candidates, so we're going to talk a little bit about the post-election apocalypse, and just to make sure that we keep everything light and we don't talk about too many serious things, we're going to talk about how the NFL's ratings are tanking. So a little light fare on the show today. And then at the end of the show, something that we wanted to do, we just said, hey, why don't we have one person during each show, at the end of the show, just kind of introduce a topic that nobody knows anything about. It's going to come out of nowhere. It's a mystery topic. Now, hey, this may stick around. This could become a fan favorite. We don't know. But tonight will be the unveiling of the mystery question or topic.
We have a fan?
We do. Yes,
What,
I think Kyle the
do you guys
Ghostly
hear
Smoker will be listening for sure, I hope.
Oh, I was going to say, you heard my fan in the microphone. I'd have to go shut it off or something.
No. Is it warm there?
In this room that I'm in right now, it's 68 degrees.
68.
Outside, no, it's kind of cold. I don't know, in the 40s or something.
All right, so let's get to this. We don't have to reveal who we voted for, but I voted for Donald Trump. I win. Yes, America might lose, but I won. All right, so
Good tone.
the post-election apocalypse, man, people are freaking out. This was hotly contested, and it took them forever to call it last night. I was glued to my phone. Google had a little thing that they were keeping track of everything, and then the New York Times. Listen, I as a person who considers themselves slightly conservative, probably lots conservative, the New York Times is kind of like a newspaper that I say I want nothing to do with. They had one of the coolest election trackers I've ever seen in my life. It was showing things like in real time, adjusting, and then all of a sudden it would be like Donald Trump has a 70% chance of winning this state, and then at the top it said now Donald Trump has a 90% chance of becoming the president of the United States. And this is like early on. This was probably about like 9 o'clock at night. I noticed that and I went, oh my gosh, he might actually win this thing. So any which way, I had a fun time. Went and hung out with a friend. We watched it there at about 2:30 in the morning. I felt bad because my wife, she's not a late night person. She kept toughing it out. She eventually took a nap, but then I was like, we got to go home. We got home, started getting ready for bed. Next thing you know, I flip open my phone, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. He's going to win it. He's going to win it. So, yeah, that was my experience. What about you, Derek? What did you do? Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I was at work, and at most hospitals, there's usually a television that is tuned into the news station. We had it on Fox News, so I was in and out of the nurses' lounge for the evening, doing late at night, doing my nursely duties. But for the most part, we were able to keep pretty close track on everything, and it was very, very interesting. I thought there was a lot of drama, and yes, it was played out, and I think they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
We have some results coming in right after this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really thrown aback at the process of covering the election. It's like, all right, Phil, give us an idea of what's going on. They're like, yeah, Bob, we got people voting in this state, and then they're counting the votes. Back to you.
Exactly.
Like, thanks. And so I know they play it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But all in all, it was pretty entertaining. I went into the night thinking that Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Everybody did.
And so when the tide started to turn, and yes, that New York Times tracking tool, I also we saw that because they mentioned that on Fox News. They're like, the New York Times has Donald Trump at a 91% chance of winning the election. And so I'm like, what is this? And so I checked it out.
Yeah,
it was very interesting.
It was very in-depth. And one of the things I heard somebody talk about today, Derek, just like you were saying, the truth of the matter is if you think about the election in realistic circumstances, what's happening is, so if the poll closes at 7 o'clock here on the East Coast somewhere, that means at 7 o'clock, nobody else is voting, right? The voting's done, and then they have to count them. And you're not going to know anything about anything until they're done counting the votes. But what they do is they go, well, this county here is traditionally a Democrat county, and it looks like the tide is turning, just like you're saying, for Donald Trump. And it's like, no, we're not going to know anything until the whole entire state is counted. It doesn't matter what's happening county by county. I mean, they can say things like, if it's a big city, like when they were talking about Pennsylvania, Philadelphia is obviously all voting for Hillary Clinton. Let's be real. Not every person, but generally speaking, big cities are going to go Democrat. So you can gain tons of votes at that moment, but then when all those rural counties and stuff start to come in, that's why they say the tide turns and stuff like that. So, Bob, did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, my wife and I pretty much sat on the couch from our polls closed about 7 o'clock. We went and voted early in the morning, and our polls closed about 7 p.m. Central Time, and that's pretty much when we turn on the news. All right, let's start seeing some of the results come in from the East Coast, from the Central time zone. My wife and I pretty much just sat on the couch. She had some wine, I had a couple beers, and I was educating her a little bit on some of the stuff on the screen and how they're projecting some of these things, because it is amazing how they say 1% of the votes are in, but Trump or Clinton have this state already.
Yeah.
But realistically, if you think a state like Illinois, if Cook County, which is the largest county in Illinois, if they win for a Democrat or a Republican, which they did, they obviously voted for Hillary here in Cook County. That's the entire city of Chicago. That's 1.5 million votes. You're not going to get that throughout the rest of the state.
Right.
So that's why they can declare it, obviously earlier.
It's based on percentages of, obviously, if there's 50 million people in your state and 3 million of them vote for Hillary Clinton, guess what? It's all going to be for, she's got it. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and then what? About 11 o'clock or so, I'm finally like, you know what? I'm gonna go lay in bed and keep watching this for a while. Probably about midnight Central Time, I finally said, all right, I gotta shut this off. What time? I don't even know what time the results came through. I know I had my phone in bed with me because I really didn't feel like getting up and putting it on the charger.
Yeah.
And my phone bleeped at some point, made a noise, and that's when I found out Trump actually won.
So it would be probably around, I would say for you guys, it was probably probably close to 1:30. What ended up happening was, no? Because I was going to say 2:30? Because when we were over at my buddy's house at about 2:15-ish, 2:20 our time, so it would have been 1:20 your time, they leaked basically that John Podesta, her campaign manager, was headed over to Hillary's campaign party, and everybody was like, what the heck, why isn't she going? Because usually they come and they give their, concession speech and say, hey, because they were looking at the map and they were realizing she can't win. The path was almost impossible at one point. When Michigan and Pennsylvania were hanging in the balance there, she had to win everything that was left on the board in order to win. And so Podesta comes in and he says, hey, we love you guys. We want you to know we're going to keep fighting until this thing's over, and we'll see you tomorrow. And everybody's like, what the hell? They're saying, all these people were totally losing their minds. They were losing their shit when Donald Trump said, when they asked him, will you accept the results of the election? And then John Podesta shows up and basically says, we're not going to accept the results of the election until we, my thought is they were looking for ways, can we go to Pennsylvania and have a recount? Can we go here and have a recount? Can we sue here? Can we do this? I think they had a plan, and then I think what ended up happening was, I really do think that Hillary just got to a point where she realized she couldn't do it. She wasn't going to win, and she didn't call Donald. Donald said she called him, but actually Huma Abedin called him and conceded the election. Now, because Donald was being nice, he said that she called, and he said she did a good job. His speech, actually, I got to tell you, this is one of the things that I thought was really good when he gave his speech. All that stuff that everybody says about Donald being bombastic and being a jerk and being really harsh, everything came toned down. He completely changed his demeanor when he was victorious. He didn't rub it in her face. He didn't say any wisecracks. He said, I respect her. I really believe she's been a good person for this country. She's done a lot of great things. We respect her service. He was very kind. But it was really weird because usually the person has to concede before you give your victory speech. And she did not concede the election until this morning. Well, she conceded it, but she didn't give her speech until this morning. So I'm sorry I just took all that up, but it was crazy.
And jumping into her speech, I don't know if you guys happen to hear Hillary's speech or Obama's speech today. And you know what? Both of their speeches were very respectful. They both had very good speeches where they Obama actually praised President Bush and how he handed over the White House to the Obama family. And Hillary did a great job. And to be honest with you, if Hillary would have acted today, if she would have acted throughout her entire time that she was trying to run for president here, if she would have acted and spoke like she did today, the rest of the time, she probably would have got a lot more votes, because today she did no bashing of anybody. She sounded very polite. She was very fluent in what she was saying. And if she would have done that over the last year, I think some of these votes would have turned the other way, because we've got some of these people out there that they truly were just like, I don't know, I'm split on this. And that was a last minute decision. They chose to go with Trump. But I think she acted a lot different than she has over the last year.
Go ahead, Derek.
Well, to counter that, Bob, me and my crew, we were watching that whole sequence of events like you were describing, Scott, and the guy Scott Podesta came out.
Yeah, John Podesta.
Or John, whatever his name was.
Yeah,
Democratic guy. We watched, and everything got called after that because Fox, none of the networks were wanting to call the election because Pennsylvania was taking too long. And so they were basically like, we're going to bed, good night. And then about an hour later, Fox called it and said, all right, we're going to give Pennsylvania to Trump. And so then Trump's people go, yay! And then Trump comes out and he gives his acceptance speech, and we all my coworkers, we watched it live, and just his grace, all the things he was saying, his whole demeanor, his respect. Just if he would have acted like that during his campaign,
yeah, I know.
If he would have been like that during the campaign, he would have run away with it.
Yeah.
Well, he would have run away with it, and there would have been. But people are still like, "Hey, he's a racist and he's a misogynist and a bigot."
Yeah.
Well, and let's talk about that a little bit before we jump into the next segment. Right now, in Chicago, New York, many of these places, there are people protesting, people in the street. If most of you people listening are on Facebook, if not all of you, Facebook was full of that today. Just
not my president was the hashtag. Not my president. Yeah. Everybody was saying, and I'm like,
yeah. Well, there's a lot of that going around right now, and regardless of who you voted for, Donald's the president, and there's no way you can get around that. And it amazes me that for so long the Clinton crowd was saying that they were so worried about how the Trump people were acting, but now you look at it and you look at all the Clinton supporters, they're acting the way that they were hoping the Trump people would not.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just basically what I think, if you look at Donald Trump's entire campaign and you look at the way that he did this, I was talking to somebody about this today, and I said, here's the thing about Donald, and I think this is the thing that a lot of people miss about him, and they look at him and they go, he's so brash, he's so mean, he says things that are not nice. Donald Trump, every action that he does in his mind is accomplishing something to get him to the place where he can win the game, whatever that game is. And in his mind, and I think as much as people don't want to believe this, he played when you come at him with something, he's coming back at you, okay? He does not back down from a fight. And he did that throughout the entire campaign. He demolished the Republican Party, I think this year, of all the years that I've been alive, put forth, I would say, out of the 16 or 18 people that were up for the nomination, over 10, maybe 15 of the people would have been extraordinary presidents. And he demolished 15 of the best people for the job on the Republican side. And the way he did that was he just destroyed them. If they came at him, he destroyed them. And Donald was not a politician at the time, but in his mind there's no other way but to win. I look at it as if you go to war, that's part of the reason that I think we have a lot of problems now in America when we send people off to war, is there are all these rules, and hey, we have to treat these people a certain way, and don't do this and don't do that, and you can't engage unless this, and you can't do... Dude, war is not pretty. So if you want to win a war, you don't go in with all these okay, don't hurt anybody, don't say anything bad, don't do that. War is go in and freaking destroy.
Well, it's changed a lot since our fathers or grandfathers and all of that stuff have been around.
But if you want to win, how do you win? You don't win by being nice to people. If you're in a war with someone and they want to kill you, you have to kill them. Right. I'm not saying I like that. I don't think it's a great thing. It's not like I go, I sure do love a good war. Let's go to war. But if you're going to go to war, if you're going to make that decision to send men and women somewhere to fight, you need to give them the opportunity to win. And the way they win is by superior firepower and just destroying.
Well, I think the biggest thing with Trump is, he's got a different way of doing things. A lot of the things he says, or a lot of the way he says things, a lot of us personally would not do it that way. And I think that's been one of the biggest things, looking at, a lot of the things he's been in trouble for. Now the conversation on the bus with the locker room talk, as he said,
grabbing pussy.
We're all guys here, and we've all said certain things, and it is locker room talk. So I personally can't get focused too much on that, just for the fact that we've all said and done many things as guys, and maybe it's not right, but who are we to judge when we're just as guilty on a situation like that?
I have never said that I wanted to grab a girl's pussy to people, but I probably have said something about her breasts or her butt.
Well, it's all the same when you're objectifying women.
Well, I'm not actively reaching into her pussy with my hand and grabbing it, so, I mean, that's one difference. No, I'm kidding. He didn't really do that either, but I get what you're saying. Here's the thing I will say. I disagree with you about Trump says things that we wouldn't say. I think that's the reason people like him, is because he's kind of like a normal, everyday, average Joe who's a billionaire. He doesn't have a bunch of, like, manners and stuff. If he doesn't like something, he goes, yeah, that's shit. I don't like that. And people are like, what the fuck? Did he just say that? Yeah.
He's not a politician. He's grown up in the public. He's a television star. He's a celebrity.
Yeah.
He said things. He's made comments. He's made comments and said things that most people have. But unlike a politician where you've got people watching you, you've got people listening, You've got to watch what you say. You've got to watch to make sure one sentence you say isn't able to be taken out of context and used in a soundbite later.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't care. So if he, if he has a day where he's engaged with somebody, he's arguing with them, and he calls people names, like we all have.
Sure.
If he calls somebody a name, if he's like with his little public fight with Rosie O'Donnell, he calls her a pig. Well, then the opponents, they take that and they're like, there's a man who just calls women pigs. He's a misogynist.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a sexist.
Yeah.
Do you want a sexist as your president? How am I going to explain this to my children? It's like, whoa, you're taking this to the nth degree.
Yeah.
You got half the country who are looking at it from that perspective. Like, here's a guy who's a racist and a misogynist and all this. He wants to, he wants to keep illegal aliens out of the country, and that's a controversial view. I mean, there's people have different views on that. Some people don't want anybody coming in, maybe because of drugs, maybe because they don't want people taking American jobs, but there are people who are passionate about that. There are people who think that if you want to keep illegal immigration out, then you're against, and they're going to take it to the nth degree, like you're against Mexicans.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a lot of what happened.
Maybe you're not against Mexicans. Maybe you're not racist against Mexicans. Maybe you just don't want illegal immigration and drugs and crime filtering into this country. Because guess what? There's a big drug problem.
Yeah. Go ahead,
right?
Bob. Yeah, there is. You're right. Bob, go ahead.
Well, I guess, Derek, I got a question for both of you guys. Then, do you think that Trump will dial it down a little bit? Because obviously he's done his thing. He's acted the way he normally is. I'm guessing as a person, whether he's in the spotlight or not, he's acting the way he normally acts. That's what he did through his whole campaign. Now, does he tone it down a bit and act more presidential? Does he, kind of watch his words a little bit more and not?
Yeah, he's not fighting. He's not trying to get it.
Exactly.
He's not trying to win. He's
exactly.
won. He's there. He's got the job.
That's
so now he can do what he set out to do.
That's what I'm trying to say, is people are missing this point. Donald Trump in normal life is not like this guy that we see attacking people that he's been attacked by. If you were paying attention throughout this whole saga from the very beginning, Donald Trump never attacked people until they attacked him.
True.
You were fine and dandy on his list until you said something about him. Ted Cruz, for example. Ted Cruz, everybody gave Ted Cruz a hard time and said, man, you're buddy with him and you let him get away with everything. Ted Cruz didn't say shit about Trump for a very long time. When it got down to him and Kasich and Rubio, then all of a sudden Cruz started to point out some of Donald's faults. And Donald was like, the thing that's so genius about him is all he did was say "Lyin' Ted," and it caught on. Ted Cruz, I wouldn't say, is probably much known as being a liar. He might seem like a little bit of a televangelist sometimes, but he's not a liar. But Donald Trump picked one thing out and went, "Lyin' Ted." And the next thing you know, everybody thinks Ted Cruz is a liar. And they used it against him forever. It killed him. Cruz was the only guy at the end that even had a shot of catching Trump. But I'm getting way off topic here. But
sorry, I'm playing with my dominoes over here. I'm sorry. You were boring me, and my dominoes were here, and I got to play with them. You know.
It's okay.
Thinking about breaking out the Legos while I'm here too.
So anyway, my point is, Donald Trump, in his book.
Have you ever stepped on these Legos, man? They hurt.
They do hurt. In his book, The Art of the Deal, the whole thing is, you come at a situation where you want to win over the top. You go over the top.
Sorry, guys, I was breaking up my ice trays to fill my cup. Sorry.
Yeah. So this will be a good transition here because that was funny. Okay, but my whole point is, when he talks about how to get deals done, he asks for the most outlandish thing in the world so that the person goes, I'm not going to give you that. That's crazy. And then he can negotiate with him. Then he can get what he really wants because he asked for the world. So that's the whole point. He acted like this during the campaign and was a rabid pit bull. So at the end, he gives this speech, and everybody's like, this guy seems pretty nice. Megyn Kelly even talked about it last night during the coverage of the whole thing. She said, hey, we had our problems. I went and talked to him, and after I did that, the guy was really nice. He's kind, generous man. He was humble. She had a really good interaction with him. It's your guys' faces. If people can't see your faces are worse than the noise in the background. You guys are more concentrated on the damn noise. If you would just keep talking, it wouldn't even matter.
We're not talking. You're talking right now.
Check out the YouTube video for the funny face reactions.
The funny face reactions are on
Derek
the YouTube
does not
channel.
have a mute button, I guess. So
he might. He does. It's on the screen.
You should have mentioned that to me.
Speaking of mute button, that's one thing that the NFL is trying to do right now with their
Oh,
ratings.
what a horrible... Man, this whole time, Bob is just like, oh, we got to go on to the next topic. We got to go on to the next topic.
We've all been so full of these politics for so long. And, right now, to me, it's a little bit limited.
I blame you idiots because you keep bringing up politics to somebody who has a problem with politics. I'm addicted.
You do have an issue.
I'm addicted, okay?
We know. You're a news junkie.
Speaking of politics, NFL. What the hell is going on with the NFL? The ratings are in the tank. People have all sorts of theories. What are your guys' theories? What's happening? Derek, why is the NFL tanking so badly?
Let me interrupt real quick.
Listen to what this guy does. I set you up perfectly, and then he kills it.
I've got some statistics that'll be perfect for this.
Yeah, Derek, hold on.
Monday Night Football down 24% in the ratings. Sunday Night Football 19%. Thursday Night Football down 18%. Derek, what do you think it is? You got to help the NFL.
Maybe there's too many football games. Maybe there's been an election going on that people are really glued to watching. Maybe the World Series and baseball playoffs have been very popular. I don't know. Maybe people are sick of Colin Kaepernick. Maybe they're getting too strict with the rules. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Bob, I've been talking forever. Go ahead.
Well, I think Derek, you kind of hit it all on the head. I mean, that's it.
He got them all. He nailed them.
End of segment. No, I mean, truthfully, you think about it. You've had a World Series where the Chicago Cubs won. I don't know what the ratings were on the World Series. I have not looked that up, but I will as I'm talking here. It had to have been a highly rated World Series just for the fact that, Chicago Cubs to make history. You also had the Cleveland Indians who hadn't won since 1948. So you got teams that won since 1908, 1948. People had to have been watching the World Series. You've had a lot of those debates going on. People trying to figure out who am I going to vote for. So they're paying a little bit more attention. And to be honest, I'm also thinking like these Monday night games, some of these Monday night games suck. I know the Chicago Bears were on Monday night versus the Vikings, I believe it was. Who wants to watch that garbage? If you're in Chicago and you're in Minnesota, you'd want to watch it. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to watch it.
Yeah. First, okay. So let me ask you a quick question. You guys, now, Derek actually will be able to name one team very quickly, but name 5 exciting teams in the NFL. Go.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yep, I knew you were going to say that. Okay, that's one. Who else? Exciting teams. Oakland, yep. Okay, who else?
Atlanta?
Yep, that's another one.
New England.
Everybody loves New England. Number 5.
Yeah, everybody loves New England.
No, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Arizona when they're good.
Nope, they suck this year. They're horrible.
That's what I said, when they're good. I don't know.
Yeah, if you can't name 5 teams that are exciting to watch out of a 32-team league, you got a problem. Just like Thursday night. Do you know what the Thursday night game is? Anybody?
It is something stupid.
Baltimore.
Cleveland Browns against Baltimore. The Cleveland Browns are 0-8.
0-9.
0-9.
And you've got Baltimore, who are 4-4.
Snorefest.
Great matchup.
How about this? First, you were saying you were going to say something about the World Series. The baseball's World Series didn't last from September until November. The World Series was only at the end of October, correct? The beginning of November.
Yeah, but the playoffs were also going on, and those were, I guess, fairly compelling as well.
Okay, so here's the thing that I would tell you. I know for a fact that the Major League Baseball ratings were up huge.
Yeah, they were monstrous. The Chicago Game 7 of the World Series was a 51.2 rating.
That's crazy.
That's monstrous. Some of your most popular shows right now, The Walking Dead.
Not even close.
They're at about a 17.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think 51.2 for a rating? That's monstrous.
We're sponsored by McChicken today. So here's the thing. Let me point this out too, because you brought up Colin Kaepernick, and this is a little political too, but I'm going to say it anyway. The Major League Baseball playoffs and in the World Series, every game they showed the national anthem. All the players were standing up. Everybody was on their feet for the national anthem. Nobody was kneeling. Nobody was putting up the black power signs. None of that shit. And the Major League Baseball ratings this year were huge.
They were huge.
Huge. They were even watching in China. So I think there actually is something to this, and I don't think it's a black-white thing. I think it's just like we've seen with the election. I think there's a segment of people in this country, a large segment of people in this country, who are sick and tired of being told that America is a sucky place and that we've done all these horrible things. Listen, we have. Every country's history doesn't... Nobody's country's history is free of bad things. We've done some horrible things as a nation, but everybody is sick of hearing about how bad we are and how we have to pay our penance all over the world, right? I mean, I don't know. That's how I feel. I'm sick of being told that I'm a bad person, especially if you're, what would I call myself? A European, an American of European descent, and a male.
I know what you're saying, Scott.
A saltine American.
Yes.
Yeah. It's what it amounts to really is there's just negativity. There's negativity around the league. There's those problems. There's those issues with the national anthem and players not standing. Whether or not you agree with their stance to do so, I mean, they're being, as far as I could tell, they're being honorable with their intentions.
Yeah.
They're not being phony or anything like that.
I'm not mad at them for doing it.
but there are probably fans, I'm sure, that don't like that. But I don't really think that that's a big issue as far as a drop in the ratings.
It's had an effect, though. It's had an effect.
It has, but not that big.
If it has, it's probably the smallest percentage of all the other things we've discussed. I don't think it's that big.
I don't.
I mean, and think about another thing you mentioned that we haven't even thought about as a cause. You said The Walking Dead. Sunday night is when some of the
zombies
best
are killing the
television
NFL.
comes out. Not just Walking Dead and stuff on AMC, but HBO's got a lot of good programs that they put out on Sunday night. So, Sunday night games, which is supposed to be the game of the week, which are supposed to be the big ratings for NBC. There's going to be a lot of people who are watching The Walking Dead. There's going to be people watching, Westworld or whatever on HBO. That's going to. I think that could be a thing.
I also think the thing that you brought up, Derek, that I think we didn't touch on enough is the way that they call the games is so bizarre. What a catch is, what's not a catch, what's a touchdown, what's not a touchdown. People are just like, what the hell is going on? How many people have watched a game in the last couple years where your team has been completely rammed up the rear end over a non-catch or some instant replay bullshit? It's crazy.
Well, a lot of teams have been screwed by that. A lot of quarterbacks haven't been getting the call. I personally don't like Colin Kaepernick or Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I don't care for Cam Newton just because I think he's a cocky jerk. But
what a snappy dresser, right?
Yeah,
he's a great dresser. He flosses his teeth during the game between plays. It's amazing. But the thing is, he does not get a lot of calls. He gets nailed all the time, and they don't pull flags on him. So a lot of it is the inconsistency. And we were talking about the scheduling of NFL. Sunday night's game this week is New England 7-1 versus Seattle 5-2-1. Okay,
that's not bad.
Not a bad matchup. Now let's look at the Monday game. Cincinnati Bengals 3-4-1 versus the New York Giants 5-3.
The fact that the Giants are even 5-3 is just tells you how shitty the league is. Well, the Giants are not a good team.
To me, if I was in a position of power, I would have wound up switching one of these games around in some way or another. Just getting that Monday game off of there and throwing somebody else in there.
They don't have the ability to change I know there's a way that they can do that at a certain point in the scheduling, like during a certain past like week 8 or week 10 or something weird like that. They can switch games, but it's only on the Sunday games. So the Thursday and the Monday games are exclusive. You can't change those. But like on Sunday, if they had a Sunday night game where the Cleveland Browns were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, they could switch that out for one of the games that was happening in the afternoon or something like that was more compelling. But, dude, there's just so many bad teams.
Here comes Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
Hey.
There's just so many bad teams. Like, the Cowboys are the only really decent team in the NFC East right now.
Who knew?
The Eagles looked like they were a good team, but they were a joke, too. I mean, the Lions beat the Eagles. And I'm a Lions fan.
Yeah, and then you've got the Giants who are 5-3 in the East, and that's pretty much. I don't know how they're 5-3. That's a miracle. That's the other thing about football. Though. There's always the possibility, even if you're not that good. Like the Lions games, for instance, are we 4-4 or are we 5-4? 5-4, and every single game the Lions have played, they've been down in the fourth quarter, and they only win by less than a touchdown every game that they've won this year. So every single game they've had to come back in the fourth quarter to win. Believe it or not, I guess the best competition of all of football right now, or the best division, is the AFC West. The Oakland Raiders 7-2, Kansas City Chiefs 6-2, Denver Broncos 6-3. There's no other division that is that close. Everyone else is up by several games already. So that's going to be an interesting one, and as the season moves along.
Derek, that's one of the teams we forgot about. Although their offense sucks, Denver.
Yeah.
Denver's a good team. Their defense is amazing, but even last year when they won the Super Bowl, as weird as it sounds to say, Peyton wasn't very good. I mean, their defense destroyed. And Carolina was amazing offensively, and I thought they were pretty good defensively, but they destroyed Cam Newton. And I just wanted to say one thing about Cam. Part of the reason that he doesn't get the calls is just like you said, he's a whiner, number one. But number two, these quarterbacks like Cam, he's huge, okay? He's a massive human.
He's huge.
And he runs. And so what ends up happening is they view, even sometimes when he's not going to run, because when you start to run as a quarterback, you're considered a runner and not a quarterback anymore. And they can plow you as much as they want. They can just destroy you. But I think that's what ends up happening to Cam. Although a couple of the ones this year have been low hits into his knees and stuff like that. And it's like, I cannot believe they don't throw a flag. So, yeah. It's bizarre.
So did we ever come up with like an answer, like a definitive answer why, or did we just talk about stuff?
No, I just think we gave a bunch of different. Yeah, we just gave a bunch of different things we think could be part of it.
And there's no way. I mean, even with all their studies and algorithms of the Nielsen ratings and all this stuff, there's no way to tell, really why those ratings are going down. But I just thought it would be an interesting topic for us to just discuss, just for the fact that. The ratings are down, and I've seen a lot of articles about it, and the NFL says we're not worried about it. It's just a lot going on, but obviously they're losing money, so they got to be worrying about it.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, especially this year because it's an election year. In this NFL thing, they talk about polls and ratings. Have you ever been polled? Have you ever been asked to participate in a rating?
I was polled. I was polled this year, not for president, but
that was at a strip club.
For the primaries. I was polled in the primaries. Ha ha ha! Strip club.
Yeah.
That's what I think of that. All right, it's time for the mystery.
I've never been polled.
It's time for the mystery question. You ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Here we go. Mystery topic. This goes back to the reason I thought about it was I was telling you guys before the show. My heat kicked on for the first time this past weekend, and it set the smoke alarms off because it was burning off the dust that was on it. There was no smoke in the house, but apparently there was enough to make the smoke alarm go off at like 7 in the morning. And so that was also the day that we fell back, set our clocks back. So I wanted to talk about daylight savings. Are you for or against daylight savings time?
Against.
And let's hear why.
I think originally it was for the farmers.
Yep.
Give them some extra daylight to work.
Yep.
Well, now farmers use, GPS operated tractors, and they can do the work of like 50 farmers 50 years ago. They don't need that. They just sit in their tractors all day and listen to their iPad or watch YouTube videos and listen to Iron Maiden while they tractor up the place. They just type it in a program. What do you need daylight for? It's all satellite operated.
There's all these farmers, right? There's a bunch of farmers right now that are very upset with you, and they're like, "I work damn hard, you son of a bitch."
I don't get it. I think it just disrupts everything. Everybody loves it in the fall. They're like, "Yeah, fall back."
No, that's the worst one. That's the worst one. Fall back, you gain an hour.
Yeah,
you get an extra hour. You get one more. You get an extra hour to sleep at night. Everybody loves that.
Yeah, you don't get an extra hour because 3 days after the fact, you're going to bed at like 10 o'clock when you normally go to bed at like midnight. That's what I did. I was like, man, it's 10. I'm so tired. And it's like 10 o'clock. I'm like, why is that happening?
Yeah. So for me, I work at night, so
it literally doesn't matter to you.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm working on the fallback time, I'm just getting an extra hour of work. No big deal.
You have to work an extra hour when it falls back?
Yeah, we changed times.
That is horrible.
So then spring forward, they just lose an hour.
So you get to go home early on the spring forward?
If I'm working
Man.
that day.
That day's probably awesome because you're getting towards the end of the shift and you're just like, I cannot wait for this damn shift to be over. And then they go, oh yeah, it's spring forward, and you go, hell yeah!
Too bad that's in the middle of his shift.
It usually happens at 2 a.m. It's fun to watch the clock go woo like that.
Yeah.
I love my job, Scott, so I don't mind if I'm there an extra hour. And when we spring forward, and I'm only there for 11 hours, I still get paid for 12.
So do you get paid for 13 when you're there for the fallback?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, I do.
Wow. Okay, then I'm
so
not
it's
mad.
a win-win. So it's a win-win. But I think for most part, it's obsolete. We don't need it. Who cares? In Arizona, doesn't even do it. They don't participate.
That's why their football team sucks.
Yeah,
that's the reason, Scott.
Bob, are you pro or con?
I am con. I don't like it. Here's what I want. Make it spring forward and leave it there. Don't ever change it. We never need to fall back because I hate getting off of work at about 5 p.m. Central Time and it being dark outside.
It's the most horrible thing ever.
Because then you're limited to the things you can do outside. And I like more daylight while I'm awake. So spring it forward and leave it there. That's it.
What you need to do is,
to turn it back.
If you move to so my uncle lives in Scotland. A bunch of my family lives in Scotland. And during the winter, I don't think they do maybe they do. I have no idea.
I think that's just a United States thing.
So during the winter, because of where they are in the hemisphere, they're up kind of higher. And they have it'll be daylight from 4 in the morning until 2 in the morning. It's crazy. They'll have days in the deep of winter where the sun is out forever. It's like if you live in the North Pole and you'll have an entire day where there's all just sun.
I used to live in Alaska, so I know what you're talking about.
Did it happen? What was it like there? How long would it be sunny?
I lived near Fairbanks, Alaska, which is kind of in the middle area. In the coldest part of winter, it would be dark. In the northern hemisphere, in the wintertime, it's dark. So the sun would rise at 10 in the morning, and it would just kind of rise above the horizon, and it would be down and dark by 2 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
And even in the wintertime, at that, when you're that high, when you're that far north, the sun doesn't go much far above the horizon, so it doesn't get very bright at all. So
that's crazy.
I did work. I was in the Air Force at the time, and I did work day shift, and I would so I would wake up and it'd be dark, and I would go in and I worked the law enforcement desk, and it would be dark by the time I went back outside.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I never saw the daylight, But conversely, in the summertime, the sun would never really get dark at all. Maybe at 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, the sun would just dip below the horizon, and then it would get kind of twilight. But by 6 in the morning, it is back up and bright all day. And
Dude,
that was weird.
I would love that.
That would be pretty cool. Well, apparently, according to this, North America, Europe, and most of the Middle East observe daylight savings time. South America and continents near the equator do not.
Okay,
We're
makes sense.
trendsetters. We're huge.
Huge. Yeah. So I obviously in Scotland it must be the same as in Alaska. I must be getting it wrong. So in the winter it must be dark forever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be hard. That would be really hard. I would.
That
hate
would be
that.
tough because I know here in Chicago we look forward to the sun coming up just to give us a little bit of something. When we're under 3 foot of snow or something like that. So
Yeah, but when you're in the Midwest, because I grew up in Michigan, when you're in the Midwest though, there are times like I think it's probably January, February, where you rarely see the sun. It's just gray and death, and it's the most horrible.
Depressing.
Last year we did not get a lot of snow, but I think we wound up going like 76 days without sun.
Oh my gosh!
And it was horrible.
They link that with depression.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Suicide rates are higher during the winter time.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Way to bring it down, man! We just took this whole show right into the crapper.
But you learned something.
I did. I learned that when it gets dark, I want to kill myself. I do not like the fallback at all. I like the spring forward, but that's just because you have to do that in order to have daylight savings time. I hate when it falls back.
Yep.
We were sitting watching something the other day, and I had the blinds open, and my wife gets off work like around 5-ish, so we're sitting there, and I was like, what time is it? We just finished this movie, and I thought it was like 10 o'clock at night, and she's like, it's 8, and I was like, what? 8 o'clock? I feel like it's been dark for like 3 hours, and she's like, it has been. Because the sun is gone like at 5:30. It's crazy. I'm not a fan. All that to say, not a fan. Not a fan.
Well, I say if us 3 don't like it, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
Send an email to Trump.
He could listen. He would. He'd listen to it. I would like him to just figure out how to talk. If he can make a deal somehow with the sun to only shine on America, that would be good, and never go down. But then we'd have to have a lot of sunscreen.
Yeah, and then everything would dry out, and there'd be droughts worse than there are now. And I think God's got a pretty good working order going.
He does. Wow, that's good. Way to bring it there. I love that. Love that. I think there was a Simpsons episode where Mr. Smithers actually blocked the sun out from Springfield with a big giant thing, and he made them pay to have sunlight. It was his way of making extra money. So there you go. In fact, I saw a thing tonight. Speaking of Simpsons, they predicted Donald Trump. They made him president in an episode, I don't know how many years ago, but Donald Trump was the president in The Simpsons. Huh?
Simpsons.
Isn't it crazy to think that we have a guy named President Trump?
Yeah.
It was very surreal last night. We were standing around, and I said, guys, President Donald Trump. And they were all like, what? I'm like, yeah.
I know, it happened.
They were all like, just saying the words kind of blew everybody's mind. It was a moment.
Talk about a reality TV show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that's, I mean, as long as everybody didn't go, and start crying when you told them that, or if they were just like, wow, that's so bizarre that he's the president. The problem I have is all these people that are now just like literally losing their shit. I mean, people have gone completely crazy. If you're into any kind of social media like Twitter or anything like that, it is insane. People have lost their minds.
A lot of doom and gloom.
There's protests in New York, Chicago, Washington D.C., Oakland, California, Boston. That's currently going on as we speak, and throughout the entire day today. People just gathering, protesting, and saying he's not my president. We don't want a member of the KKK around. He'll never be my president.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, all these terms are being thrown out there by all these protesters. So and I just wonder, if Hillary would have won, I don't think we'd see these protests the way we're seeing them now.
No.
I don't know if it's sore losers or people that truly feel that Trump's going to just bring down the entire country. But it's kind of sad. But hopefully over the next little while, everything will settle down. People will stop taking to the streets and screaming and yelling, and Trump can actually get in office in January and start his first 100 days, and we'll see what happens. See if he can do what he said he wanted to do within his first 100 days, and we'll probably say that piece for another show because that's an interesting segment there.
Yeah,
I
didn't vote for Trump, but I think he'll surprise us in a good way. I think he'll do all right.
I do too. I think that the protesters, the only reason they're out there protesting and have all this time to protest is because probably none of them have jobs.
Well,
how do you like that? I'm just.
Not,
I'm antagonizing. I'm making a joke. But when Bob says that if Hillary won, would there be a bunch of people out there doing that? No, because they'd all be at work. They would not be out there protesting Hillary because they got to go make money. They got to support their families.
And Hillary.
Way to be divisive, Scott. Way to contribute to the problem.
They don't have patchouli in their hair, and they don't smoke weed. Although I would love to see weed get... Oh! That's one thing I wanted to... We need to talk about this at some point. Listen, we need to talk about weed at some point, so let's keep this in mind.
We'll talk about that next show, for sure.
But
Hasn't this episode run over like an hour and a half or
something?
so?
No, not even... No, it has not.
That's great.
Listen, I got it all under control, boys. When it's time to shut her down, I'll shut her down. So I want to make sure we talk about this because a number of states passed medicinal marijuana this time. There's a couple of them that passed, and I heard a story today that a bunch of drug companies like Pfizer and people like that are getting into the marijuana market. They're going to start making marijuana drugs to be prescribed. And I thought, we're this close to it being legal everywhere. Once big pharma gets involved, oh my gosh, it's going to be like Coca-Cola. You're going to be able to pick it up.
Yeah, they're going to make it legal if you only get it through them.
Right.
Yeah.
You might be able to get over the counter though. It might be like, Benadryl used to be by prescription only, I'm sure, but now you can get it anywhere you want. Pretty soon we'll just be able to pick up weed at Costco. It'll be sweet.
They're going to regulate it like they regulate alcohol, in a overly complicated. I think the way they regulate alcohol is very stringent. It's very expensive and unnecessary. Well, screw you FDA, screw you ATF.
Well, listen, I'm not a weed smoker, but I would like to see what it's like. So they can regulate the hell out of it just so I can get my hands on some, because I'm not going to go find out how to get it from somebody and get arrested. Can you imagine them shoving my fat ass into the back of a police car? Oh my gosh.
Hey, I just want to let you guys know this as I'm looking up who passed these marijuana laws, which I haven't got to yet, but I found this and I have to share it with you guys.
Okay, hurry up.
California voters rejected a measure that would have required actors in porns to use condoms in all the movies.
Good job, California.
California rejected that. So I'm just letting you know, no condoms in pornography.
Oh, California.
Why are the voters even deciding that?
Because apparently there's a lot of porn being shot in California.
Why aren't the actors, why aren't the porn students, why aren't they making that decision?
Because everything has to be about government.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right, listen, we're going to wrap up the show. On that note, no rubbers in pornos in California. Thank you, voters. We appreciate that. Can you imagine the people on the nightly news having to... ballot number 52, no rubbers on huge cocks and porns has passed.
Just imagine the people sitting there like, did that referendum pass? Come on, did it pass? Please, I don't want to wear one. Please, I hope it didn't pass. And all these nudes, just big orgy going on. Yeah, did it pass?
There was a whole bunch of lobbyists. No rubbers, no rubbers. Hey,
that's exactly how it happened.
Trojan was trying so hard. They lobbied and lobbied, but they just couldn't get the rubbers to pass. All right,
it was very hard.
I like the Cialis commercials better when they're in the tub and stuff. It's just so much more classy. If you have to take boner pills, you got to go with Cialis.
All right. Well, folks, that was our first episode. So that's what you got to look forward to. Politics and boner jokes and football, I guess.
It's all the same, isn't it?
We'll come up with something. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you were listening to Hey, We're Talking, and you can take that any way you'd like to. You could take it as Hey, We're Talking, or Hey, We're Talking. So I'm Scott, red headphones,
Derek, yeah. Hi,
and then
how's
the
it
other
going?
guy. What's that other guy?
That's Bob. I
Thanks,
would say
Bob.
the guy in the black shirt, but I think we're all kind of pretty close to it.